Hi Booktube, welcome back. My name is Juan. I am just one reader here with another Friday Reads video. So this week I finished probably my favorite... Oh! Lightning, thunder, it's coming. Could you hear that? It's really rainy and stormy right now. Every single night is like this. It's like the apocalypse. Or did you see Dark? The Netflix series Dark? The Apocalypse. That's how it feels like. Anyway, so I finished reading what is probably my favorite novel of the year so far, or maybe the second. I need to think about it, but this book was such a perfect novel. Evelyn Waugh's masterpiece, Brideshead Revisited. Sadly, I cannot really talk about it here yet because this was technically a buddy read with Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and she hasn't finished it because we had a schedule planned out and I just could not hold back. I needed to finish the book very, very quickly, so I actually, skipped ahead and read ahead of schedule. Sorry, Sarah. But I really, really, really adored this book. So I'm gonna practice the art of restraint, and I'm gonna keep my opinions regarding this book to myself for at least until Sarah is finished, so that I can discuss it with her, and then I will let you guys know more about this book. But this was perfect. This was a 5-star read for me immediately. Like, this was just remarkable. I mean, without spoiling anything and without really talking about this book, it's like talking about the book without really talking about it. The writing, I think, is magnificent. I do think that this is my favorite kind of writing that I've read in quite a long time. The themes, the characters, the charm, but also the gravity in everything that happens in this book, and the very important themes that it addressed. I just loved it. I really, really loved it. This was superb. Just loved it. So yeah, I will tell you more about it when I can. I also continued with my reading of Lovely Dark Deep, which is a short story collection by Joyce Carol Oates. I am slowly making my way through this. I read a story here that I really liked, which is about, well, I read 2 stories from here. Both of them really amazing stories, 5-star kinds of stories. The first one is about this professor in a college who dies, and we sort of see the aftermath of his death and how that has an impact in another teacher's head, in her psyche. I thought it was a very interesting exploration of that character. And then the other story that I read, which is The Hunter, the first story that I mentioned was Stephanos is Dead. And then the second story is The Hunter. And it also takes place in a college, in a campus in a college. And it's about this woman who is a poet. And she is essentially having... Whoa! Lightning, thunder, whoa, again. This one's gonna be huge. Wow. This is interesting. I would love it if I was reading like an Edgar Allan Poe story right now and this were happening in the background. That would be very atmospheric. Anyway, so it's about this woman poet, sort of middle-aged woman poet, who is having essentially a nervous breakdown. Her father is dying, she's falling apart, she's in pieces, and then she's invited to this college campus to sort of have a 2-week residency there. and weird things happen. And what I really like about Joyce Carol Oates in this collection, which is the only thing that I have read from her, is that she is great at putting the reader into the mind of a character. It really is a very profound exercise in inhabiting another person's psyche. I really, really love that. The way that she does it is great. So yeah, I am still reading this and highly enjoying it. I will probably finish that in July sometime. And then I also read and I started and finished reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, or as I like to call it sometimes when I feel quirky, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Why? Okay, moving on. So this one, I read it because it's the new illustrated edition, illustrated by Jim Kay, that is. These come out like every year, more or less, and this is the newest one. We don't have news for the publication of the Illustrated Order of the Phoenix. That one is my favorite book in the series, so I really am looking forward to seeing what Jim Kay does with that material, because that one is tricky. But here, okay, Goblet of Fire. Goblet of Fire is one of those books that everybody loves. Every single Harry Potter fanatic loves Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It's sort of like with Prisoner of Azkaban. They are books that everybody loves because they are so exciting. The world building is really fantastic. The characters are quirky and charming and funny, and everything is just so alive with magic. It's not like some other books in the series like Order of the Phoenix or Half-Blood Prince or even Deathly Hallows or some of the earlier ones, which are more polarizing or controversial. For example, my personal favorite is Order of the Phoenix currently, and I know that a lot of people don't agree with my opinion, but that's okay. But this one, Goblet of Fire, is a very, very highly loved entry in the series. For years, this used to be my favorite. And so coming into this book at my age is weird because I realized Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is the book that I have read the most in my life, in my lifetime. I actually used to keep count, and I think I forgot, but I lost track of it. But the last time that I counted, I think I had read this book up to 29 times. So that's a lot. So essentially, reading this book now that I have read it so many times over and over and over and over again, and that I have watched the movie over and over and over again, there are some passages that feel, how can I say this? Not necessarily anticlimactic, because they still hold the excitement and everything. It's still there. But there's like some things that I already know are coming and the way that they will be coming. So there's a lack of excitement or a lack of, dazzling whatever effect. However, okay, so I know that because I have read this book so many times, I can't really judge the book based on because my experience, it's just, I'm reading this book for like the upteenth time. So what am I judging here? Why am I evaluating here? The illustrations, pretty much. That's it. So let me tell you, I really liked this book in terms of a new experience, a new experience of one of my favorite books. And in that regard, I would say that this book was quite successful. I think it is better than Prisoner of Azkaban, the illustrated edition. I think This one is much better. However, I do have some interesting, well, some things that I thought were interesting. Like, I really liked when Jim Kay shows some passages of the book that are not really included in the movies, or things that you would not think would be illustrated. So, for example, there are some magical creatures that Hagrid is teaching about, and we never see them in any of the movies, and it's really great to see them here. I also think that Jim Kay is really great at painting or drawing these like wonderful buildings. I really love the way that he paints, the way that he imagines Hogwarts. I think his Hogwarts, his version of Hogwarts, is very much like the Hogwarts that I used to picture in my head when I was reading the books without the movies, before the movies came out. So I really like his aesthetic in general of the Wizarding World of J.K. Rowling. For example, I don't want to spoil a lot of the illustrations because they are really interesting and some of them are gorgeous. And I think that you should discover them on your own. But I will show you two to exemplify what I liked and what I disliked. So here's an example of one illustration that I adored. And this is very early on in the book. This is the Quidditch World Cup. That's it. It's just a beautiful, gorgeous rendition of the Quidditch World Cup. And when I used to read this book over and over and over again as a child, this is what I would see in my head. So I really liked that. And I think this is something that Jim Kay does throughout the book. He presents a new aesthetic to the wizarding world of Harry Potter, which is an aesthetic that we already have a certain aesthetic in our minds because it's from the movies, and the movies have a very iconic sort of aesthetic vision of things. And so getting to see another version of this universe and these scenes that we've all seen so many times, it was really interesting. Now, I'm going to show you one other illustration that I didn't like because it represents what I overall didn't like about the illustrations in Jim Kay's version of this book, which is this one. So this is a pretty good illustration. Like, you can see there's a lot of detail. It's beautiful. It is gorgeous. You can see Hogwarts Castle right there. It looks beautiful. You can see the Durmstrang ship right there on the lake. But what I don't like about this is that it is heavily influenced by the movies and the aesthetic of this particular part of the story. So there's another illustration, which is actually what you can see in the cover, which is the dragon, the first task. There are some things that I really like about this and some things that I really don't like about this. Like, I really like all of the detail that you see in the background, the colorful details, the people, all of that. I think that's really, really great. But then there are some things that I didn't like. Like, the dragon itself is very similar to the dragon that we see in the movie. And maybe this is just, the way that J.K. Rowling imagined it. And so, Jim Kay is just doing that. But I still feel like I would have really appreciated more of a newer, different kind of vision. So what else can I say about this book? I love reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I love this book. I think J.K. Rowling is amazing. Her world building, I mean, she just has a way of telling you a story that really takes you in. It grabs you and it transports you. It's so evocative and so, yeah, it really transports you to that place. It's incredibly engrossing and compelling and atmospheric. She really is quite something. There's another thing that I was sort of concerned about this particular volume, which is the presentation of Lord Voldemort. Honestly, I didn't like it. I didn't like the way that he was portrayed in this illustrated version because it was a little bit of a cartoon, like a comic book villain character. I didn't like it. It's not all bad, but I think the book would have been much better if the Voldemort in here had been more serious and more menacing in the way that it was drawn and painted and, you know, portrayed. So yeah, this book was very, very nice in some regards, like the story and everything in terms of the contents. It's a wonderful book. I love it. I really want to read more J.K. Rowling. There's one book by J.K. Rowling that I haven't read, which is the new, I think it was the latest addition to the Robert Galbraith series. I think it's Lethal White. I think it's book 4. I haven't read it, and I really want to read it because I love her writing so much, her characters, her storytelling. I can't get enough of her, so I think I will go ahead and read something by her. But yeah, I really loved rereading this book for the 30th something time, and the illustrations were very successful, and then some of them fell a little short, but overall I would really, really recommend it. Yeah, I would really recommend these editions. They're really cute, really pretty. And now, tomorrow morning, I will be starting Gone with the Wind. This is 959 pages long. So, God knows how long it will take me, but I will do my best. I will try to read as much as I can and as fast as I can. And from what I've heard, this is a pretty absorbing and pretty quick read. Like, you know, considering its size, its length, it's pretty engrossing. So, yeah, I will be reading this. And that's it. Thanks for watching another one of my crazy ranty videos with thunder and lightning in the background. I am just one reader, and I will see you on the next video.